Good evening, folks. Thanks for clicking on to the evening 10:30 p.m. here in Scotland. This evening's edition of the video blog special coverage of Hurricane Irene continues, folks. And we've got a couple of changes, a couple of alterations in terms of the actual system itself. Unfortunately, the track continues to look as if it's going to go kind of due north and then take that slight bend towards the northeast. Landfall generally around the southern portions of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Current pressure is now up to 951 millibars. Wind speeds reduced. Maximum sustained winds now at 100 miles an hour. Gusts to 120 miles an hour. Continue to move north at around 14 miles per hour. And unfortunately, folks, one thing I will say is that the system is huge. It's around 400 plus miles across the way, so we've got a very, very vast wind field. 290 miles away from the centre, we've got tropical storm force winds, and I believe 70 plus miles of hurricane force winds. So although the system is weakening, it's entraining some drier air off the southeast coast, and that's wrapping into the circulation, choking it off somewhat, and that is good news. However, the system's so huge. The system's also still continuing the trend, that path that will take it across the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It will basically cut in through Pamlico Sound, behind the main portion of the Outer Banks, the Barrier Islands, cut up through there, go back out into the Atlantic just off the Norfolk, Virginia coast, and then it will go just parallel basically off the New Jersey shore, and then probably make a secondary landfall across the kind of central or western portions of Long Island, folks. I believe that we are going to see a uniform 6 to 12 inches of rainfall. That will create major flooding issues. The reason being is we've already seen so much rainfall over recent times across portions of eastern Pennsylvania, through Delaware, New Jersey, up into the New York City area. Soils are saturated, so therefore they're not be able to take that much rain before the water just basically lies on the surface. And that 6 to 12 inches, perhaps 1 to 2 inches per hour is the rate that it could happen across the majority of the mid-Atlantic. Winds probably will be in the excess of about 100, I would reckon probably between 90 and 100 mile per hour when they make landfall in North Carolina. Storm surge probably between 5 and 12 feet, and we're going to see some piling up in the Chesapeake Bay. We're also going to see probably about 2 to 6 feet along the Jersey shoreline, coupled with waves on top of that. We're also going to be seeing hurricane force winds onshore. So places like all those communities, all those beach areas, they are going to sustain some damage. There's no doubt about that. And inland areas as well. Basically, the root system with the trees, it's not going to take much to topple those trees, and then those trees topple down power lines, and so on and so forth. We are going to probably see millions of people without power, and they are saying that you should be prepared to be without power for 72 hours. So at a long duration or without power, I'm not saying that you're likely to be without power for 72 hours, but you're expected to be able to have supplies that would last through a 72-hour time frame. So have you got enough water? Have you got enough food? Have you got a backup generator perhaps? I know not everybody's got that. Have you got enough fuel in your car as well? You're expected basically to have these supplies. So if you don't have that and you live nearest the coast, you really must get out, and you must get out now, folks. There's no point in hanging about now. I believe the AC Expressway, the Parkway in New Jersey, has been backed up with traffic throughout the course of today. New York City, we could be expecting winds probably in the low end of hurricane strength. We've got torrential rain expected, of course, and the system, although weakening, is so vast and so powerful, and it will be transitioning into a more baroclinic system as well, and that can actually be a very, very dangerous situation as well, because what you tend to find is that the energy in the upper and middle levels of the atmosphere, as it transitions from tropical to a cold core system, you can sometimes transfer some of that energy down to the surface. So winds can be exceptionally powerful. It was the case through the perfect storm a bunch of years back. It transitioned from tropical to baroclinic. Another thing that I want to point out to you folks is, in cities itself, winds are actually sometimes accelerated through the urban canyons of the skyscrapers. As the wind and the force hits up against those buildings, it has to go somewhere, and where it tends to go is it all piles into the one tight space and accelerates through the streets. So it's not a safe place to be in places like even DC, Philadelphia, but I'm most concerned about New York City, that we might see really powerful winds, unusually strong across the urban canyons of the Manhattan area. We're also going to be seeing, once you go 10 stories or higher, you could basically add on a new category. Jim Cantori of the Weather Channel was just explaining that once you're above 10 stories on a New York City skyscraper, if the winds are at 75 miles an hour, you could add on an extra category. So it could be a category 2 hurricane in the mid and upper parts of the Empire State Building. Windows could be blown out. So it's a very dangerous place to be inside a city. You might think you're protected and you're sheltered in places like New York. It can actually be quite dangerous